Hi, everybody. It is Tara from Sojourn, and I am here with a repeat interviewee. This is Jessica Hess from Philosophy of Wellness and Integro Wellness Studio. She is a registered dietitian. And so I'm just thinking that talking about healthy eating strategies is so key right now as we're all wondering what to do as we got a little sloppy over the past couple months. So Jessica, what do you want to say to everybody about sort of strategies or eating?
Yeah, so I think what's really important right now is everybody's caught up in everything that's going on in the world. Our situations have changed. We don't have childcare. Our jobs have changed, and everything has kind of been turned upside down. And one of the number one things that happens when things are turned upside down is we look for control. And controlling when it comes to food is often what we call dieting. We want to restrict, we want to make sure that we have everything in order, and sometimes we go a little bit too far. And we rely on all of these external cues to tell us when we're full, when we're hungry, what we need to eat. And my idea is that to get out of this funk that we're in, we need to really tune back inside and use our intuition to tell us how much, when, what to eat. If that makes sense.
That's super interesting. And I like, from the psychology of eating point of view, you know, we are feeling so out of control with everything that has happened with the pandemic and quarantine, and so it makes sense we've lost control with food in some ways, and then some other people maybe already have tried to over focus or over control food. So it really does make sense why this is such a common behavioral problem right now.
Yeah, and people find it really hard to focus on intuitive eating because there's so many external cues. The number one that I can think of is, you know, when you're hungry and you drive by, well, Cinnabon at the mall, or a restaurant, and you smell garlic bread or whatever is cooking, and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm not in control. I need to have that. You have all these external cues telling you, okay, maybe you should look at food, etc. But we really have to dive inside and figure out, okay, how can I listen to myself and whether I really need that or don't need that, so that your weight will actually settle where it needs to settle if you're listening to your internal cues. So I have a few tips on how to do that I was going to go over.
Yes, please. I think that people would love to hear some tips. This is really helpful, Jessica, so please do.
Okay, so the number one tip when it comes to intuitive eating is that you have to eat delicious food. Okay, so when we're thinking about improving our diets, everyone's like, oh, I need salad. So we'll have lettuce and low-fat salad dressing and some tuna. And I'm not saying that's not delicious and it's not, you know, satisfying. But for a lot of people, if you're eating that over and over, it's not. We have to focus on getting food on the table and delicious food. What is actually satisfying you? Because if you eat satisfying food, you're less likely to overeat because it's filling the void you actually need to fill. So if salads are your thing, make a good salad that you really enjoy, but don't eat salads if you don't enjoy them. Find the food that you actually like to eat. That's the number one. Number two would be pay attention when you eat. So making sure that you actually sit down and you tune into your food, you understand what you're eating, you are maybe sharing that environment with your family, but you're not distracted by TV, you're not driving while you're eating, you're sitting down and really enjoying and paying attention. So when you put away all the noise and distraction, you can actually focus on those internal hunger and satiety cues. And that will help you to eat exactly what your body needs so that it can tell you where your weight needs to be sitting. That's number two. Number three would be satisfy your hunger. So if you're hungry, eat. But where people find it really difficult is the difference between, okay, am I actually hungry? And they don't trust their body that they're actually hungry. So we have to find out what are our hunger and satiety cues, because everybody has different cues. So your stomach might rumble when you get hungry, but I might start getting angry at people. And so if I told you, oh, or if you told me, oh yeah, you'll know you're hungry because your stomach will rumble. Well, my stomach might not rumble. So I might not ever feel the same hunger as you. So we need to learn what our hunger cues are. And then we also need to learn what it feels like to be full. Because for you, you might get bloated and have this bulge in your stomach. And for me, I might just get really sleepy, but I never feel that fullness. So tuning in and figuring out what it takes to satisfy your hunger, eating until you're full and eating when you're hungry. Number 4 is emotional eating. So the best example is if you pulled out a bowl of ice cream and you ate and you have an appetite for that and you're hungry and you eat and you eat and you eat and you eat, but you never get satisfied by it. So you never feel satisfied, but you also feel sick to your stomach because you've eaten too much. That's a pretty good sign that you really weren't hungry and that you didn't have an appetite for ice cream. There's something underlying going on. Because if it wasn't emotional eating, you would get satisfied eventually. But with emotional eating, we need to roll it back and say, okay, I'm not getting satisfied, and I've had a lot of these fun foods that I usually am satisfied by. So what is the underlying emotional need that I need to address? So that's the 4th. And the 5th one is getting out there and moving in ways that you enjoy, because movement can actually help us regulate those internal cues. And if we aren't moving in ways that we enjoy, then we're putting this pressure on ourselves that actually eliminates the ability to help regulate our internal cues. So we need to enjoy physical activity and we need to move. And the more we enjoy that physical activity, the more likely that will develop into a long-term sustainable habit, which will help us maintain this way of intuitive eating over time, so that we can help regulate our weight and allow our weight to settle where it needs to be, rather than constantly trying to shift the weight down and then falling off the bandwagon and then having it happen over and over, because that will actually in the long run cause our weight to increase slowly and our set point will get higher and higher, and we'll look back and say, man, what was I doing before that I'm not doing now? If we just get on the intuitive eating bandwagon, then we will be more likely to be able to maintain that weight over time. Those are my tips.
That's amazing, Jessica. Like just those 5 simple tips. And thank you again. I think that this is so important. And I know that your studio is talking about how when you guys are opening up, so everybody can pay attention or try to notice when that is happening. If you want to connect with Jessica, I'm going to put her information down below for you guys. And thank you so much for this really simple, practical view on eating. And it is important for us to seek balance, is what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely. And listen to yourself, trust yourself, for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Tara.